Hi, I'm Sunny Chung. I'm in the studio with Gordon Cheung, no relation. I think a good place to start would be tell me a little bit about your background, where you were born, and how you started with your practice.
I was born in London.
Yeah.
75, and we used to live around what my parents would describe the riot spots. So we used to move around.
Yeah.
And then we moved to Peckham, and then a brick came flying through the window, hit my mum on the head.
Oh no.
And so we moved. And so my parents ran chip shops for a while, and then eventually to a restaurant in Croydon, and now they're retired and gone back to Hong Kong.
I guess drawing from that as well, I know when I was growing up that my parents weren't so interested in my creative side of things as well, actually. And I wondered if there was a fostering of any sort of creative work from you, or if it was that kind of, that stereotypical notion of study hard and, be, I don't know, like a lawyer or a doctor or something.
Oh,
like
absolutely. That. Or an accountant.
Yeah, exactly.
Or, definitely the doctor, a lawyer, a businessman. Obviously wanted me to be a high achiever, but I would always come last in my class. It got to a point, I think, where they sort of gave up. and I also gave up because I was trying to please them with trying to overachieve and so on. And then suddenly I was like, either second or first. Something had sort of like clicked in my mind, and now I was able to properly answer these things because I didn't have this sort of desire, this overwhelming desire to actually try and
that's amazing.
Achieve those grades for someone else.
Yeah. So were you always interested when you were younger in creative things, or as you say, when you started to achieve, did you start getting more interested in things like sciences?
Well, arts was the only place where I felt I had some control.
Yeah.
In a way, and it was the world in which I could occupy and enjoyed being in. I loved creating, and the translation of like these things in your head that could be visualized.
Were you ever attracted to be, I guess, a painter's painter where you would exclusively use oils in order to mimic something like Rembrandt or that kind
absolutely.
of thing?
No, that's actually that's the funny thing, because at the moment I'm looking at the sorts of works that I wanted to make when I was a teenager. Yeah. So there's Dutch still lives. Yeah. I really wanted to be able to paint. I must have understood something about it, but I didn't realise what it was. Yeah. The humanity in Rembrandt's work is extraordinary, and it's stand out. So there's this thing called the diachronic perspective, which is the way how I think of my creative process, in which I was describing to someone a sort of spiral of creativity throughout the years. And at certain points in this spiral, you would look down and there'll be these parallel sort of like similar points in terms of your creative process. So it's just this curious way in which certain themes continue to be there.
It's almost like painters, they get a vocabulary where it takes a certain amount of time to absorb lots of different aesthetics or thoughts about, and just generally looking at paintings. And then somewhere along the line, I find all of this information kind of coalesces together and then just outputs in the most, amazing way.
Your early years, I suppose, is mimicking. In a way, you're trying to master a language, a technique, a process, a way of thinking, and then to turn that into yours as well. So that means sort of digging deep into who you are, to infuse that language that you've learned, those techniques and processes, into what you want to say, into what you want to reflect as well. And that all takes a hell of a long time.
I guess you have a trademark style whereby you use stock listings.
Yeah, I wanted to find something that I felt could reflect what I felt was happening around us. And so because I was at art school and I wanted to sidestep the discourse of the death of painting within Western painting, I used that language and I distorted it or translated it through technology. So what I mean by that is that I would create a collage of, say, circuit boards, for example, or of the stock listings of the Financial Times. And I'll go to the photocopying machine, and while it's being scanned, and sort of smear it, so that then you would result in what I thought of as simulated brushstrokes from which I would cut shapes from and stick them together to produce these kind of abstract paintings. And I would think of these as almost like a variant of Chinese calligraphy. This idea of the ink representing word, image and poem. And so my photocopy of the brushstroke was a variation of that, in which the ink was replaced by information and the brush by the photocopying machine. It's going back to all this idea of multiplicating realities and in my work, deconstructive sort of spaces using multi-layered processes, techniques, and collaging as a way to create these different dimensions.